Hi, everyone. How are you doing? Today, I want to talk a little about vulnerability in relationships. I mentioned the importance of being vulnerable in my video and blog post about one-sided relationships, which you can find at focusyourtime.com/one-sided. So why is being vulnerable important in our relationships? Being vulnerable builds trust and intimacy, allowing us to support each other authentically. Without vulnerability, relationships may lack depth, hindering the potential for meaningful bonds. So, what does being vulnerable look like when you and another person are trying to get to know each other? Well, in the beginning, you can start by sharing just a little bit about yourself to see how it goes, kind of like dipping your toe in to test the water. I'll give some examples in a minute of some easy ways to practice being vulnerable. Being vulnerable is not just sharing about yourself, it's also about being genuinely curious about others and a way of letting someone know that you're interested in their world too. When it comes to being vulnerable and getting to know others, it's important to keep yourself from oversharing and bombarding others with too much personal information too soon. Now, when you ask people questions, it's crucial not to pry or intentionally make others uncomfortable. I used to know a person that would ask me questions that were intrusive and a bit off putting, and it made me so uncomfortable. So before asking questions, use good judgment. To know if you're prying, pay attention to verbal and nonverbal cues. If a person seems hesitant, provides brief answers, or changes the subject, you may be getting a little too personal. You could start by asking simple questions about their interests, hobbies, or experiences, which again, I'll discuss in a minute. Vulnerability is about honesty without pretending and about sharing a little something about you and creating balance by asking them something about them. Brene Brown in the book Daring Greatly says that vulnerability is the core, the heart, the center of meaningful human experiences. So I thought I would share some ideas about how to practice vulnerability, and I'll give you a few of my responses to the questions. Number one, share a favorite hobby, movie, or reality show you enjoy. So my hobby is actually creating these podcasts. And my favorite movie is When Harry Met Sally. And the latest reality show that I just went crazy over was The Golden Bachelor. I was obsessed. Number two, ask the other person about their favorite hobby, movie, and reality show. And I just told you mine. Number three, discuss a minor obstacle that you've been having. Well, if you know me, you know that I'm into healthy living and I eat really well for decades and I exercised all my life. My blood panels, for the most part, are optimal, except for right now, my glucose is a little higher than I would like. So I'm researching ways to bring it to a better level. Number four, share a goal you have for the future. Well, one of mine is to read more books. I have several in Audible and in Kindle that I'm looking forward to reading. Number five, share a valuable lesson you've learned from a personal experience or maybe something you've learned from others. One lesson I've learned through studying mindfulness is that no matter how hard I try, I can't control or change others, no matter how much I want to. And it's best when people show you who they are to practice acceptance. Number six, discuss what drives your enthusiasm and maybe talk about something creative that you do. For me, it's creating graphics, doing podcasts, editing videos, and I love to interview inspiring people for my podcast. Number seven, share a positive memory that brings you joy. I was thinking about this on New Year's Eve, and I have a memory from my young days when my whole family, including my grandparents, attended a party of mine celebrating New Year's, and we were all banging pots and pans. Even my grandma was on the pots and pans. It was so loud and so fun, and I thought about that on New Year's. So that was a really good memory. Number eight, Talk about your values and what matters most in life. One thing I value is my daily routine because it provides me with energy and a sense of accomplishment. Number 9, share a book that left a lasting impression on you. I absolutely could not get enough of Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. I listened to it nonstop on walks and found it engaging, educational, and entertaining. It's so good. Number 10, acknowledge that you're not perfect and share a humorous story about a mistake you've made. Well, where do I begin? I mean, I've made plenty of mistakes. One time, a mistake I made was I think I was tired, but one time I started putting the dog's toothpaste on my toothbrush and caught it just in time before I put it in my mouth. And another time, I scheduled a meetup and sent the wrong address to people because I wasn't paying attention when I scheduled the in-person meeting. And luckily, the people showed up late, but they did find the correct place. I was so embarrassed. Anyway, if you want more ideas for conversation starters, download the free conversation guide at focusyourtime.com/better-conversations. While vulnerability is about openness, it's crucial to respect your own and other people's boundaries. It's perfectly okay if there are certain things that you or they are not ready to share. Creating a comfortable space allows both parties to feel at ease and respected. One important thing I wanted to mention is that vulnerability is not a tactic to get people to like you or manipulate others. Recognizing manipulation of vulnerability often involves observing patterns like revealing only certain aspects of their life, consistent victimhood, or displaying constant drama. If someone repeatedly shares stories with inconsistencies, refuses help, or pressures you for specific reactions, it may indicate manipulation. It's important to practice mindful vulnerability. So instead of simply dumping struggles onto others, you want to share in a way that invites connection and fosters a supportive dialogue rather than burdening someone else with your issues. By being mindful of how we share creates an environment where both parties feel comfortable and valued, ultimately strengthening the connection. Genuine vulnerability is characterized by a balanced reciprocal exchange of personal experiences. Manipulation often emphasizes an emotional state to gain sympathy and attention without addressing the issues causing those emotions. It's crucial to be authentically vulnerable and focusing on constructive sharing that brings people closer rather than pushing them away. Being attentive to these cues can help you maintain healthy boundaries. Again, vulnerability is a two-way street to share stories with one another in order to create a meaningful and comfortable connection. As Daniel Laporte points out, vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of courage and authenticity. It's about showing your true self and genuinely wanting to understand another person's story. As Psych Central notes, being vulnerable in a relationship is taking a risk. While there's a chance of getting hurt, there's also a chance for connection and growth. It's also crucial to remember that vulnerability is not a tactic to get people to like you or, again, manipulate others. It's a genuine expression of who you are. Being vulnerable fosters authentic connections, and when we share our thoughts and feelings, we create a space for understanding and empathy. Deepak Chopra says that embracing vulnerability allows us to connect deeply with others. So pay attention when conversing with others and notice if you're truly embracing vulnerability in your interactions. If not, work on increasing your awareness to improve your openness in order to create more genuine connections. So I was thinking about starting a neighborhood personal growth book club that meets once a month and having the first book be Brené Brown's Daring Greatly, because it's all about vulnerability. If any of you have had a successful book club meeting on this book, let me know. I'd love to hear some great ideas and how to create engagement. Okay, that's all I've got today. Man, saying vulnerability Man, say that 20 times. It's really hard to get out of your mouth. Anyway, I hope you all have a great day and be kind, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.